Imagine living under a king so cruel that every harvest you planted belonged to him. Every coin you earned, every child you raised, every dream you had, belonged to your enemy. Now imagine God choosing an unlikely hero to end that nightmare. Not a mighty warrior, not a famous prophet, not even a king. Instead, a man whose greatest advantage was something everyone else overlooked. A left-handed man named Ehud. One hidden blade, one impossible mission, one moment that would change the destiny of an entire nation. Tonight, we'll uncover one of the Bible's most astonishing rescue stories, a tale of courage, deception, divine timing, and God's power to use ordinary people for extraordinary purposes. Stay with me until the end, because the shocking way King Eglon dies has a deeper spiritual meaning than most people realize. If you're passionate about discovering the hidden stories of Scripture, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments. God can use anyone. Now, let's journey back more than 3,000 years. The Promised Land was finally theirs. The battles of Joshua had ended. Cities stood. Families prospered. Fields overflowed with grain. The people had witnessed miracle after miracle. The Jordan River had parted. Jericho's walls had fallen. Giants had fled before the armies of Israel. Yet something dangerous happened. Comfort replaced dependence. Prosperity replaced gratitude. Little by little, Israel stopped seeking the Lord. The generation that remembered God's mighty works began to die. Their children inherited the blessings, but forgot the one who gave them. Soon idols appeared on the hills. Altars to false gods stood, where prayers once rose to heaven. The covenant was ignored, and Israel did exactly what God had warned them never to do. God's discipline was never revenge. It was restoration. When his people wandered, he allowed hardship to awaken them. East of the Dead Sea lived the Kingdom of Moab. Its ruler, King Eglon, a powerful monarch with ambition burning in his heart. He saw Israel growing weaker, spiritually divided, militarily vulnerable. So Eglon formed an alliance. The Ammonites joined him. The Amalekites marched beside him. Together they crossed the Jordan River. Israel fought, but this time, God did not fight for them. City after city fell. The Palm City, Jericho itself, was captured. The people who once celebrated victory now lived in fear. Days became months. Months became years. Years became nearly 2 decades. For 18 long years, Israel lived beneath the heavy hand of Moab. Every harvest required tribute. Every family feared taxation. Every village answered to foreign rulers. Children grew up knowing nothing but oppression. Parents whispered stories of Moses and the God who once defeated Pharaoh. But those stories felt like distant legends. Could God still hear them? Had he abandoned his people forever? No. He was waiting for hearts to return. Finally, their suffering became unbearable. The idols offered no answers. The false gods remained silent. In desperation, Israel remembered the Lord. Across the land, voices rose together. Old men prayed. Mothers wept. Priests humbled themselves. An entire nation cried out to heaven. And just as he had done before, God answered. Not because Israel deserved rescue, but because his mercy is greater than human failure. God was already preparing a deliverer. His name, Ehud. His name was Ehud. He came from the tribe of Benjamin, a tribe whose name means son of the right hand. Yet irony surrounded this man. Ehud was left-handed. In ancient warfare, that was unusual. Most soldiers trained to draw weapons with the right hand. Guards expected attacks from the right. A left-handed fighter was different. Unexpected, overlooked, perhaps underestimated his entire life. But God saw something others did not. What people viewed as a limitation, God would transform into the key to Israel's deliverance. History often celebrates the strongest. God often chooses the overlooked, the forgotten, the unlikely, because when victory comes, everyone knows where the glory belongs. Ehud had no army, no royal title, no legendary reputation, just faith. and a mission from God. But before he could save Israel, he would have to walk straight into the palace of the most powerful enemy king in the land, carrying a secret weapon and an even greater secret. The cries of Israel had reached heaven. God had chosen his deliverer. But unlike Gideon, there would be no army gathered. Unlike Samson, there would be no supernatural display of strength. Unlike Joshua, there would be no marching soldiers. Ehud's mission would begin in complete silence. Somewhere in the hills of Benjamin, Ehud wrestled with a burden only God could have placed upon his heart. He knew Israel's suffering. He had watched Moabite soldiers seize crops from hungry families. He had seen fathers bow before foreign rulers. He had heard the whispered prayers of mothers asking when God would save them. Then came the conviction. God was calling him, not to lead thousands, but to walk alone into the lion's den. There would be no applause, no guarantee of survival, only faith. Sometimes the greatest acts of courage begin with a quiet yes that no one else hears. Ehud understood something about the palace guards. Every visitor bringing tribute would be searched. Weapons were expected on the left side of a warrior's body, where a right-handed man could quickly draw his sword. But Ehud was different. Patiently, he forged a special weapon. Not a long sword for open battle, not a spear, not a shield. A short, razor-sharp dagger, double-edged, deadly from either direction. Its blade measured about a cubit in length, roughly 18 inches. Long enough to strike, short enough to hide. Carefully, Ehud fastened the dagger beneath his clothing, on his right thigh. The last place any palace guard would think to search. What others considered a weakness, God had turned into the perfect advantage. The Lord often works through what the world overlooks. The day finally arrived. Israel's tribute was prepared. Heavy sacks of grain, silver, livestock, the painful price of oppression. Ehud joined the delegation assigned to deliver the tribute. No one suspected anything unusual. He walked among ordinary men carrying ordinary burdens. Yet beneath his robe, hidden from every eye, rested the dagger. Each step toward Jericho echoed with silent determination. The city bustled with Moabite officials. Soldiers lined the streets. Foreign banners fluttered above the walls that once fell by God's power. Now, those same walls reminded Israel of how far they had fallen. The delegation entered the royal palace. Its towering columns displayed Moab's wealth. Its polished stone floors reflected years of conquest. Everything proclaimed one message. King Eglon ruled here. Or so everyone believed. King Eglon was everything power seemed to promise. Luxury, authority, influence. The Bible describes him as a very fat man. This was more than a physical detail. In the ancient world, excessive wealth often revealed itself through extravagant living. While Israel struggled to survive, Eglon feasted. While Hebrew children went hungry, his tables overflowed. He sat upon an ornate throne. Jewels adorned his robes. Gold shimmered from every corner of the royal chamber. Around him stood elite guards, trusted advisors, servants awaiting his every command. As the tribute was laid before him, the king smiled. Another reminder that Israel remained beneath his feet. But he had no idea that his reign was only moments away from ending. The tribute ceremony ended without incident. Ehud bowed respectfully. The delegation departed. Together they left the palace, then the city, passing the carved stone idols near Gilgal. Each step carried them farther from danger, farther from King Eglon. The other Israelites believed their task was finished. But not Ehud. His mission had only begun. As they approached the ancient stone images, Ehud stopped. He looked back toward Jericho, toward the palace, toward the king. Perhaps his companions noticed the determination in his eyes. Perhaps they wondered why he lingered. Without revealing his purpose, Ehud quietly sent them ahead. Then, alone, he turned around. Every step back toward the palace required extraordinary faith. There would be no rescue if he failed. No second chance. Only obedience. The palace guards recognized him. The Israelite messenger had returned. Why? Had he forgotten something? Did he carry additional tribute? Ehud calmly requested another audience with the king. His words were simple. "I have a secret message for you, O king." Those words immediately captured Eglon's attention. Kings lived surrounded by intrigue, political secrets, military intelligence, whispers of betrayal. A secret message might contain valuable information, perhaps news of rebellion, perhaps an opportunity for greater power. Curiosity overcame caution. Eglon raised his hand. Silence. The room fell quiet. Then he dismissed everyone. One by one, the guards left. The servants withdrew. The advisors departed. The great doors closed. The mighty king sat alone, with the man God had sent. The king rose from his throne. He led Ehud into his private upper chamber, a cool room built to escape the desert heat. Quiet, isolated, secure. Outside, soldiers stood at their posts, believing their king was perfectly safe. Inside, only two men remained. One trusted in earthly power. The other trusted in the living God. History balanced on a single moment. Neither man spoke. The silence seemed endless. Then Ehud looked directly at the king. His voice steady, his heart unwavering. "I have a message from God for you." King Eglon instinctively stood. He expected words. Instead, he was about to encounter the judgment of the God he had mocked.